Welcome to the Holistic Wealth and Health Podcast. Your co-hosts, Jason Smith and Brian Bibbo, will inspire and teach you how to prosper in your mind, body, and spirit, not just your financial life. Joining forces with field experts, Jason and Brian are here to help you focus on what matters most in your life, living well.
Hello, and welcome to the Holistic Wealth and Health Podcast. My name is Matt Seitz, Chief Marketing Officer here at JL Smith, and I will be your host today. In this episode, we'll be discussing one morning at a time, elevating consciousness and changing your life with special guest Hal Elrod, founder and CEO of The Miracle Morning. Hal is an author, keynote speaker, and success coach known for his transformative books and motivational content. He focuses on personal development, productivity, and achieving success through positive habits and mindset shifts. Thank you for joining us, Hal.
Matt, I'm happy to be here, man. I saw you in person in Canada a few months back, and it's good to be back in front of you.
Yeah, I know I was sharing with you before, and I'm personally excited about this interview since seeing you back then, as well as many of our other JL Smith advisors and staff that got to experience that and your motivational content there. So I'm excited to be able to share that with the rest of our audience here. So we'll kind of jump right in. If you wouldn't mind, I guess let's start with the basics. Can you please share your background and what led you to the creation of The Miracle Morning and subsequent books?
Yeah, so there's a series of events. The first was my sister's death. When I was 8 years old, I woke up on a Saturday morning to my mother screaming across the hall from her bedroom. And I ran across the hall, and she was performing CPR on my 18-month-old baby sister. And my sister died in front of both of us that morning. And within 6 months after, devastating experience for my mom and dad especially. Right. But my mom was leading a support group for other parents who had lost children, and my dad was leading a fundraiser for the hospital that attempted to save my sister's life. And so what it was really, the seed that was planted at an early age was to take your pain and find purpose with it, to help other people. So not realizing it, of course, at 8 years old, that would really become a cornerstone of how I lived the rest of my life. Fast forward 12 years later, and I was driving home after giving a speech at a Cutco sales conference. I worked for Cutco Cutlery at the time at 19 years old, and driving home from the speech, my car was hit head on by a drunk driver at 80 miles per hour, 70 or 80 miles per hour, and I was found dead at the scene of the accident. I broke 11 bones. My heart stopped for 6 minutes, and I was told I would never walk again. And 6 days later, I came out of a coma. I've been revived on the helicopter ride to the hospital, and really made the decision that I'm going to figure out how to overcome this. And maybe the reason this happened to me is because, like my mom and dad did with my sister's death, I'm supposed to help other people with this experience. Don't know what that looks like, but that was the seed again that kind of continued to grow. And then you fast forward, I did take my first step and kind of got back to my life after that. And fast forward 9 years later, and the U.S. economy crashed in 2008, and I crashed with it. I lost over half of my income. I had my own business coaching salespeople and entrepreneurs. My business failed. I couldn't pay the mortgage. My house was foreclosed on by the bank. I began living on credit cards and went from being a Dave Ramsey debt-free, pay off the balance every month to having a $52,000 personal credit card balance 6 months later. And really desperate for a solution, I started just figuring out, what do the world's successful people do that I'm not doing? And I kept coming across morning routines and morning rituals, but I wasn't a morning person. So I was like, no, where's the success ritual that starts at 10 a.m. or noon or in the afternoon? And finally, one of the articles I read just really helped me understand that how you start your day sets the tone, the context, and the direction for how you live your day. And so if you start every day in a peak physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual state, you are more equipped, more capable of overcoming the challenges that you face and achieving the goals and the results that you want in your life. And so I had this light bulb moment. I thought, okay, I'm going to figure out I'm going to take the best personal development practices known to man, and I'm going to assemble them into one ritual because I wanted the biggest bang for my buck. And within 2 months of doing this morning ritual with 6 practices, I more than doubled my income. And this is at the height of the 2008 recession. So the economy did not get better, it got worse, but I got better, right? I got better through these daily practices. I went from being in the worst shape of my life physically to committing to train for and run a 52-mile ultra marathon And I had never run more than a mile when I was forced to in high school PE class, and I hated it. And ironically, that's why I committed to this, because I thought, man, who would I have to become using my Miracle Morning? Who would I have to become that would be capable of running 52 consecutive miles? Like, I don't know that guy. I've never been that guy, but I want to become that guy. And my depression that I'd been experiencing went away within a matter of days because I all of a sudden got momentum. I felt hopeful, and it felt like a miracle. I called it a Miracle Morning. And then the rest is kind of history. I ended up writing a book about it 3 years later. And now that book has been translated into 42 languages, sold 3 million copies in over 100 countries. And so this is my life's work, is just sharing the Miracle Morning with as many people as I can.
Man, so so inspirational right there in the first answer there. And I like the whole, how do you get started in the morning? It's like you can't hit snooze on success. Like that's incredible. So I know one of the goals is to elevate the consciousness of others when it comes to their work and routines, like you mentioned. Can you explain what is meant by that?
Yeah, my original goal, my mission for the Miracle Morning when I first published the book was change 1 million lives one morning at a time. And essentially that was just 1 million is an arbitrary number, but it was like, this big grandiose number. And I thought, I don't know how long it's going to take me to get there, but that gives me something to shoot for. And after 6 years, the book sold over 1 million copies. And I went, okay, what I need to expand the mission. And I thought about maybe I'll just go to 1 billion. And that's kind of like the unpublished, that's still part of it. But I really, I surveyed our community. I did a lot of research and deep diving and just a lot of inquiry, self-reflection, and go, what does the Miracle Morning do for people? And I had brainstormed dozens of answers. It helps people. It improves their mental and emotional well-being, for sure. Check. It helps them be more productive because they start the day with that momentum. And okay, check, right? So I'm going through all the benefits, if you will, of the Miracle Morning. And at that time, I had been reading the work of, what is his name? I'm drawing a blank. On David Hawkins. Transcending Levels of Consciousness, Power versus Force. These are some of his books. And in those books, he talks about the scale of human consciousness, which at the bottom, it's like guilt and shame and fear. These are the low levels of consciousness that when you're in those levels, life sucks. You're not effective. Those are the levels that people commit suicide from, right? And then as you elevate your consciousness, and I'll define what that means in a second, you go from fear, guilt, and shame, where you feel worthless, to hope and optimism and peace and courage and love and enlightenment is the highest level of consciousness on David Hawkins' scale of consciousness. And he literally has a mathematical measurement, right? This isn't just some woo-woo philosophy. And I realized that the Miracle Morning elevates my consciousness. It elevates every person that does the Miracle Morning. It elevates their consciousness. Now, how would I define that in a really simple, understandable way? When you elevate your consciousness, you elevate your awareness and your intention. So meaning, when you're doing your Miracle Morning every day and you're meditating and you're journaling and you're reciting affirmations and you're visualizing what's possible for you and you're exercising to get your physical body with more blood and oxygen to your brain, when you're journaling what you're grateful for, when you're going through all these practices, you're becoming more aware of how your thoughts, words, and actions impact you and impact every person around you and impact your results in your life. So the first step is you're elevating your awareness. And consciousness is really just awareness, right? Your consciousness is your awareness. But when you elevate your awareness, by default, you become more intentional. When I become aware of, oh, wait, when I think this, I feel this, and then it messes me up. Well, immediately, a heightened level of intention is born from that awareness. So that's what I mean, is the Miracle Morning, it elevates your awareness. You become more aware and intentional about how your thoughts, words, and actions impact your life and those around you. And then collectively, now that millions of people are doing that every single day around the world, that became my mission, to elevate the consciousness of humanity, one person and one morning at a time.
Wow. No, I love that. It's like building that self-accountability. I know to some degree we've all heard the benefits of setting routines like you mentioned here. Why did you find that a morning routine was the most beneficial?
So yeah, it was an article that I read by Steve Pavlina. He's the author of Personal Development for Smart People, and he has a blog, or he used to, stevepavlina.com. This was like 2008. So I mean, I'm dating myself here. We're looking at, what is that, 16 years ago or 14 years? No. But anyway, he said, and I'm going to paraphrase what he said to the best of my recollection. Actually, I think I said it earlier. How you start your day sets the tone, the context, and the direction for the rest of your day. So in other words, when you win the morning, you enable yourself, you put yourself in the best possible position to win the rest of the day. And life is created one day at a time, right? If you have a great day today where you're focused, you're productive, you're happy, then you won today, right? And then you go to bed feeling accomplished, feeling great. And your first thought in the morning is almost always whatever thought you dwelled on before bed. So you go to bed feeling good and accomplished, and that rolls into waking up going, man, yesterday was great. Let's keep that momentum going, right? And then you have a great start to the day. The problem is most people, the majority of people, and I don't know the exact statistic, but it's something like 60%, give or take, don't identify as morning people. And the reason I believe that is because if you think about it, when we were all growing up, imagine when you were a kid, right? Imagine when you were in school, maybe in middle school. Unless you were one of those weird kids that like did your homework without being asked and, like woke up before your parents got in there. For most of us, we were woken up against our will every single morning. Hey, Billy, time to get ready for school. Right. No, I don't want to get up. Right? And like when my son was young and my daughter, when they were young, it was different. Like, oh, school, great. But now that my son's 11, my daughter's 14, right? Like my son's like, he used to jump out of bed, but now he doesn't. So I wake him up against his will. And here's the problem with that. That goes on for years. Most of our formative years, while our brain is literally forming, our beliefs are forming. So we develop an unconscious belief. I don't like mornings. I don't like waking up until I have to. And then what happens on the weekends for most kids or during the summer, when we were kids, we slept until the last possible moment, 11, noon, whatever. And the problem is that when we turn 18 or whatever age you left the nest, I don't know about y'all, but for me, when I was in college, I scheduled my classes as late as possible. I stayed up till 5 o'clock in the morning, 3 to 5 o'clock in the morning, playing video games. Essentially, it was, nobody's waking me up. Nobody's holding me accountable. I can sleep as long as I want, right? And I believe this is a downward spiral into mediocrity. And when I say mediocrity, I don't mean that as an insult. It's not how we compare to other people. It's how we compare to the best version of ourselves. Most of us are struggling to, right? Like there's this, we know, hey, if I were really disciplined and focused and consistent, I could do X, Y, and Z. I could be much healthier. I would go to the gym. Like there's this gap between how we're showing up every day and where we know we're capable of. And to me, the miracle morning is about closing that gap. So when you wake up and you delay waking up until the last possible minute, you're starting the day with procrastination. You're starting the day in a state of resistance. I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to wake up. I don't want to live my life. Versus the miracle morning doesn't mean you wake up at 5 a.m. You don't have to get up early. You just get up before you have to be out of bed. So let's say you have to wake up at 8. Great, get up at 7:30. Do 5 minutes of meditation, 5 minutes of prayer, 5 minutes, right? Like do 5 minutes of the practice that I know will impact these at some point today. Yeah. But essentially the point is, going back to my mentor, Steve Pavlina, how you start your day sets the tone, the context, and the direction for the rest of your day. And if you have a mediocre start to the morning where you wait till the last possible minute, check your phone, and you start the day in a state of reactivity, then you end up reacting and being unproductive the rest of the day. But if you start your day being focused and disciplined and you're learning and you're growing and you're evolving and you're doing self-care practices that are scientifically proven to lower your cortisol levels, to heighten your state of awareness, right? Then you begin the day as the best version of yourself, and then that's who you take in to the rest of the day.
No, I love that. It's being intentional about it, making a habit of it. And I'll tell you how I know others, I have friends and family that they have young kids or they get pets and they have to get up early anyway, it's like make use of that time. A lot of times that becomes dead time. Even if you are a morning person, there might be a lot of dead time where, to your point, you become more intentional about it and using that time more valuable.
Yeah. Yeah. To your point, like, if you wake up and you check your phone, you're stimulating your cortisol, right? You're now in fight or flight mode. You're going from, when you wake up first thing in the morning, you're in a parasympathetic state, which is a calm, relaxed, thoughtful, peaceful, resourceful state. That's your parasympathetic nervous system. As soon as you grab the phone or you check email or you even start thinking stressful thoughts, your nervous system, you switch from the parasympathetic to the sympathetic, and now you're in fight, flight, or freeze all day long. And so, it goes back to that's why it's so important how you start your day.
Yeah. So, well, now's the part where I think everyone in our audience is going to want to grab their pen and pencil and start jotting down all these notes, or they're going to be rewinding and listening to this multiple times. But can you take a moment to break down your SAVERS acronym? That's SAVERS. And how does each step feed into the other?
Yeah. So the SAVERS, when I first created the Miracle Morning, it was me asking, what do the world's most successful people do for their personal development? And it was based on a quote from Jim Rohn. He said, your level of success in every area of your life will seldom exceed your level of personal development. And I quantified that when I heard it. I thought, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, in terms of the success I want in my health and my marriage and every area of my life, I want level 10. I want to be as happy and healthy and financially secure as I can be, sure. But if my level of success is not going to exceed my level of personal development, and if you're listening or watching this, ask yourself that question. I had to ask, well, what's my level of personal development? And the way that I defined that is, what are the practices and the rituals and the routines I have in my daily life that are personal development oriented, that are helping me grow, learn, evolve, gain more knowledge, confidence, instill better habits, and so on and so forth. And my answer in 2008 was like, my personal development's at like a 2 or a 3. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, like I'm barely surviving. And I'm sure a lot of people listening can relate to that. Like I'm trying to make ends meet. I'm in debt. My house is being foreclosed on. Like I'm a mess. I'm not in a good place. I don't have time for personal development. But Jim Rohn's quote made a lot of sense, because the idea is, if you dedicate time each day to personal development and you go from a 3 or a 4 where I was, and then you get a little bit better every day and you go to a 5 and a 6 and a 7 and an 8, you become more confident, more capable, more knowledgeable, instill better habits, a better mindset, and you become the level 10 version of yourself. That's the person, that's the version of you that can create the level 10 success and sustain that level of success that you want in your life. And so for me, it was, what is the best practice to do that? And after an hour of Googling, I had a list of 6 practices, and I got overwhelmed at first. I'm like, well, I can't do all of these. And then immediately I thought, wait, what if I did all of them? What if I woke up like 30 minutes earlier tomorrow and I just did 5 minutes for each of these 6 practices? I thought, and I did all 6. That would be it's the 6 practices the world's most successful people have sworn by for centuries. Like these aren't new, hacks. This is like, these are timeless practices. And so I woke up the next morning, I did all 6 practices, and I sucked at most of them. Like I didn't know how to meditate, and visualization was weird and all that, right? But I felt like if I start every day like this, and I will automatically, of course, I'll get better at these practices. It's only a matter of time before I become the level 10 version of me that can turn my life around. And I mentioned it took, less than 2 months to do it. Here are these 6 practices. Eventually, thanks to my wife, she suggested when I was writing the book, why don't you get a thesaurus and see if you can swap some of the words to create an acronym that people will remember. And thanks to my beautiful wife, Ursula, that's where SAVERS was born. The first S in SAVERS is for silence. That is starting your day in a peaceful, purposeful state of silence. That could be prayer. That could be breath work. That could be meditation. For me, it's usually a combination of all 3. I'll slow my breathing to get back into that parasympathetic nervous system to calm my state. And then I will always say a prayer. I'll pray to God for wisdom, for guidance, for clarity, and that will help calm my nervous system, get me in that state. And then I will set my timer on my phone for 5 minutes or sometimes 10 minutes, or on the weekends, I'll go 20, and I will meditate. And in the new edition of the Miracle Morning, the updated and expanded edition that just came out in December, I teach what I call emotional optimization meditation. Unlike a lot of meditations where all you're doing is following your breath, this actually is a very proactive meditation where you're identifying your optimal mental or emotional state that best will serve you today, whatever that is. Some days you might need confidence if you're giving a big presentation, or if it's Saturday and your kids are going to be up in an hour, you might need playfulness, right? If you fought with your spouse the night before, you might need love, empathy, and forgiveness. This meditation teaches you how to identify and then hardwire that optimal state for the day. And as you do this day after day after day, those states become more of your default. You become more happier, more confident, more at peace, because it's like working out every day and getting stronger mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. The A in Savers is for affirmations. Affirmations, I think, are the most mistaught form of personal development and the most effective when they're done right. The reason they're mistaught is we're taught to either lie to ourselves. If you're struggling financially, just affirm, I am wealthy. I am wealthy, right? And the problem with that is the truth will always prevail. Like if you're genuinely financially struggling, you're negative, like I was when I started my Miracle Morning, then trying to say I am wealthy or I'm a millionaire, or like, you've got to align your affirmations with what you perceive as truth. The second problem with affirmations is we're often taught to use flowery passive language that promises almost like a magical result, but independent of any effort on our part. So you've probably heard something like this, Matt. Let's say you're struggling financially. We'll stick with that theme.
Right.
And you're taught to affirm, I am a money magnet. Money flows to me effortlessly. And the reason I think that affirmation, some people actually like it, is because it's like taking a drug, like taking an antidepressant where you look at your bank balance and you're like, oh my God, it's negative. Oh, my reality is so stressful. I need my delusional affirmations. I am a money magnet. Oh, that feels better. Money flows to my life effortlessly. Oh, that's good because I'm not motivated right now. So I need the effortless piece. And magically, everything's going to be okay because I posted some pictures on a vision board of some fancy cars in a mansion, right? Like, so deluding yourself into thinking that things are magically going to get better without your effort, I think it's a recipe. You got to take ownership. And so I'm going to give you all 3 steps real quick. And Matt, you mentioned, like, if you're writing anything down, I would write these 3 steps down. Step 1, number 1, affirm what you're committed to. In life, you don't get what you want just because you want it. I want more money. I want a better marriage. I want this. I want that. You get what you're committed to. In fact, I believe there's always a way when you're committed to just about anything that you want in your life with that commitment. So every day, affirm, I am committed to increasing my income by 10% this year. I'm committed to transforming my marriage. I'm committed to losing 10 pounds at the end, right? I'm committed to running that marathon. Like, what are you committed to? And when you affirm that every day, you're strengthening that commitment inside of you every single day. Step 2, affirm why it's a must for you. So this is where you really fuel that drive that you need. If all you do is go, I'm committed to being a millionaire, and right, but if you don't have a compelling reason, are you wanting to give your family financial security? Because that reason is what will fuel that commitment. When you don't feel like, I know I said I'm committed, but I don't feel like it. I'm tired. But then you look, oh, wait a minute. I've got 3 compelling reasons here of why I'm committed to that are so important to me. They're so meaningful. They are literally musts that I have to get up and I got to do what I got to do, right? So that step 2 is what fuels step 1. And then step 3 is what makes it a reality. And step 3 is affirm which actions you will take and when you will take them. Affirm which actions you'll take and when you'll take them. My first coach used to say, that's where the rubber meets the road. Mm-hmm. Like, if all you do is affirm your commitment and then you affirm why it's a must for you and you're driven, you're like, yes, I'm going to make that happen. If you don't go to step 3 and go, whoa, okay, you got to clarify what you're going to do, which actions you're going to take, and when you're going to take them. Because without that, you're just going to be a motivated person without any clear next step. And so every day, if you follow those 3 steps for the most important goals in your life and the most important rules. right? So I got a goal, to have my best year ever financially. Great. So what am I committed to do that? Why is it a must? And which actions am I going to take? That's a goal. A role is a husband. I'm committed to being the husband that my wife deserves. Here's what, number 2, why is it a must for me? Because she deserves it, because I want it. My life's better when our marriage is great. And step 3, which actions will you take and win? Today, I'm going to help her in the garden because I know how much that means to her. I'm going to help get the kids ready for school. I'm going to send her a sweet text message to let her know how much I love her. Something I started doing recently, Matt, here's a little bonus tip, is she likes hot lemon water in the morning. And occasionally I would make it whenever she would ask me, but I wasn't doing it. And I realized her love language is acts of service. So what I started doing is I started making her a hot lemon water. And then I write her a love note on a Post-it note, and I stick it on the lemon water. And right when you leave our bedroom, there's like this little alcove with this window and like a shelf, and I set it in the alcove. And so when she walks out of the bedroom, the first thing that she sees is her lemon water, and then she reads a romantic love note from me. And it like the one this morning was like, "Good morning, my love. I just want to acknowledge you for what an amazing mother you are to our 2 children. They are so blessed to have you, and so am I. Love, Hal." That took me, 5 minutes to do all of that, and it's starting our day, our marriage, on a positive note, literally, right?
Yeah.
Every single day. So that is my affirmation formula, and I'll go through the rest of the savers very quickly. I just wanted to spend a lot of time on the affirmations because to me, that's the anchor that the rest of the savers support. You kind of asked, how do they fit together?
Right.
My affirmations, that's clarifying what I'm committed to, why, and what I'm going to do to get there. Then I meditate in that optimal emotional state that I teach in the new book, right? I meditate in that state that, okay, nice, I feel ready to do the thing that I need to do. Then I go to the V in savers and I visualize myself doing the thing. I mentally rehearse showing up at my best to do the thing that I just affirmed and I just meditated on. Then I go to E, I exercise. I get myself in a peak physical state, which of course affects your mental and emotional well-being. And then I go to reading. I read a book on the thing that I'm committed to improving in my life. And then I go to scribing, which is a fancy word for journaling or writing. And 2 things I write down. Number 1, what am I grateful for? And that might be one thing, it might be a few. What am I grateful for? And I write it down, and then I put my hand on my heart, and I close my eyes, and I really feel in my heart, in my soul, I feel deeply grateful. And then I look at my to-do list for the day as I'm transitioning out of my miracle morning. I look at my to-do list for the day, and I go, okay, I got like 17 things that I could do today, that some are more important than others. And I ask myself, what are the top 3 things that will move the needle in my life or business today on this to-do list? The to-do list is a mile long, but all things are not equal. What are the top 3? And then I number them 1, 2, and 3 in terms of importance. And I'm not allowed to work on number 2 until I've done number 1. And I can't work on 3 until I've done number 2. And it really, just that small aspect of scribing improves my productivity, 10x.
Wow. And Hal, I know we were chatting beforehand too on how I had followed some of these and then heard you speak and read your book. This was one that I added in that for me was a game changer. That last one, the scribing and the journaling, just getting things out of my head and putting it on paper, like like the, I guess, sense of relief. I don't know if it's the right word, but just
that's the perfect word.
It felt soothing to get it out of your head and on paper. So, as they're going through this, I like the affirmation, like you said, anchoring that of like, I kind of thought when you were describing that, like an idea without action is not an idea. So I love that.
What it is, it's a formula for regret.
Yeah.
Man, I was so motivated yesterday and I was committed, but you didn't clarify the action and then you didn't do anything. And then now you feel right. And you said something about relief. I think that's so important. When there's 2 sides of putting pen to paper. And the first is if you put the negative, you write down the negative things, the stressful things, the things that are running through your mind that you can't let go of. Once they're on paper, you unburden yourself from having to carry them in your conscious or subconscious mind. It's like, I don't have to think about it because I know it's in that journal. And if I want to worry about it or stress on it or try to solve it, I'll open the journal. And I might do that later today, but that's not the time when you're trying to meditate and get in a peak state and learn and grow and evolve. But the other thing that putting pen to paper does, if you put positive things, it amplifies them. So it unburdens you when you write down the negative things. It provides that relief that you talked about. But when you write down the positive things, like what you're grateful for, what you're committed to, what you're excited about, what you accomplished yesterday, right? That amplifies the positive things that fuel you to move forward.
Yeah. And I guess that gets into the next question, which you kind of hit on there. Like, we often frame routines in terms of developing a good habit or increasing productivity, like you said there. However, as you just discussed, routines can be beneficial when it comes to maintaining positive interpersonal and romantic relationships, like you said with your wife there. The nice bonus tip for our audience. Can you dive a little deeper into how that works to the overall impact of one's life?
Here's the way that I would put it, is that the quality of your relationships with all people, particularly your significant other, but all people in your life, your kids, your coworkers, you name it, especially your spouse, the quality of your relationships with all people is a reflection of the quality of your relationship with yourself. And so if you're not optimizing your relationship with yourself, then you're going to bring your trauma and you're going to bring your baggage and you're going to bring your suboptimal mental and emotional states into all of your relationships.
No, that's great. So I remember when you spoke to us back earlier this year, mentioning like the thousands of people that reach out to you directly or through your Facebook group that want to share their stories, especially adopting the Savers routine. Could you share an example or two, maybe some of the favorites or most outlandish that you've heard, that those individuals that benefited from those changes, as our listeners today might hear those and make a difference in them moving forward to a routine like this?
Totally. I mean, one of the biggest thing that I get, 72% roughly, we've surveyed our audience a lot, is they say they weren't a morning person until they read the Miracle Morning book. So that's a really common thing, is like, and that was the thing. When I wrote the book, it wasn't just wake up early and do these things. It was like, how do I hold someone's hand psychologically and emotionally to go from, I'm not a morning person and I don't even think I want to try being one because I've never enjoyed waking up in the morning, to, wow, I'm going to give this a try, to, whoa, I did a 30-day challenge, to, wow, I'm a morning person and I'm never going to miss this again, right? That was the hand holding that I did throughout the entire book. So that's the first thing I think that's important to address is, you know, millions of people have overcome the I'm not a morning person to like, oh my gosh, I love being a morning person. That's the biggest, I think one of the biggest important pieces to acknowledge. But in terms of specific, like, profound stories of transformation, I'll pull a few from the Miracle Morning movie. And if you're not aware, you can go to miraclemorning.com. You can watch the Miracle Morning documentary for free. And there are some names in there you will recognize of, you know, famous authors and athletes that we interviewed for their morning routine. You'll also follow my cancer journey where I almost died. I was given a 20% chance of surviving halfway through making the movie, and we kept the cameras rolling. So that's at miraclemorning.com. And two of my favorite stories from that movie. One is Mike Eaton. Mike Eaton was obese for his entire life. And he tried diets, he tried reading books on losing weight, nothing worked. And a friend recommended the book, The Miracle Morning. And he started The Miracle Morning, and in the first 6 months after reading it, he lost 80 pounds. So that, and the reason I share that one in particular, and I know Mike now, he's now a stand-up comedian living his dream, which that's another way he'll tell you Miracle Morning gave him the confidence to pursue his dream and all of that. But in terms of the weight loss, I share that because The Miracle Morning isn't a weight loss book. It is a book on how to become the person that you need to be to create everything that you want for your life. So the point is, it's universally applicable for any area of anyone's life, and you just focus those savers on your marriage or your finances or your health, whatever you want to accomplish in your life.
Great. So shifting gears just slightly, you've written a few other titles that could be considered more like niche spin-offs or continuations of The Miracle Morning that deal with things like real estate or the business savvy. Can you tell us a little bit what's your motivation behind diving into those topics?
Yeah, so what happened is one of my former colleagues that I worked with at Cutco, Ryan Snow, we had both gone on to other things, and he leads a real estate team. And he called me and he said, hey, or texted me, I forgot which, but this was like in 2013, right after the book came out, maybe 6 months later. He said, Hal, I gave your book to every single one of my agents on my team. He said, you know, roughly half of them have read it and are implementing it, and half of them have not, give or take. He said, every single agent that has read the Miracle Morning and is doing the practice, their sales have gone up. He said, not to mention their attitude and all these other things. He said, and those that didn't read it, almost none of their sales have gone up. He said, it's so specific to those that have read the Miracle Morning and those that haven't. He goes, and I mean, it's part of our accountability. Like I ask him, hey, how's your Miracle Morning going? He goes, I check in with him. He said, it can't be a coincidence. It literally is cause and effect. He said, have you ever thought about writing Miracle Morning spinoffs like the Miracle Morning for salespeople? Because I think this could really benefit salespeople. So very organically, Matt, it wasn't a like business strategy.
Right.
I'm going to break into other niches. I was like, hey, you want to write it with me? And he's like, sure. So I'm like, all right, great. And then like a few months later, this guy reached out, Michael Reese, and he reached out to me and he said, Hal, hey, and it was an amazing story about how he reads the Miracle Morning to his 2-year-old son. And he's like, he doesn't understand what I'm saying, but he gets the energy that you put into that book. It was a beautiful story. And this guy's a top real estate trainer. And he said, hey, Hal, have you ever thought of doing like a series? Like I would love to do a Miracle Morning for real estate agents. I go, we actually just started working on the Miracle Morning for salespeople. He was like, oh, I'd love to collaborate with you. And then, okay, great. I'm like a yes, but at least I used to be a real like, sure, let's do it. Let's do yes. Which is
it sounds like your wife's going to start gatekeeping some of these ideas. Yeah.
No, trust me. I've made many mistakes and I'm much more cautious now. But man, back then I was like, yeah, let's do it. The eternal optimist. And so that's how it happened. And then I had friends of mine. I met these people at a conference. And they were doing the Miracle Morning with their son and their daughter. They had really young kids, and they brought their son up to meet me and read his affirmations and show me his Miracle Morning saver schedule. And he was like, I think he was 8 years old, maybe even younger. And I go, this is amazing. I go, would you be open to talking about like co-authoring a Miracle Morning for like kids or families or something? And that was Mike and Lindsay McCarthy. And so we wrote the Miracle Morning for parents and families. So, and then that's how all of the Miracle Morning books have worked, is someone I meet or reaches out to me that's the right fit. And I have never made a hit list and just started calling like, hey, you're a top this, you're a top that. No. In fact, I would be, now I say that I'd be much smarter if I did that. And I actually need to do that. But yeah, up until this point, it's just been organic 100% of the time. And now I have learned to say no to people, because I've learned that if somebody wants to co-author a book just because they have the knowledge, but they don't have an audience to reach, then the book loses, it doesn't reach any new audience. Like then all I'm doing is showing new Miracle Morning versions to my audience. So I have learned that somebody does have to have an audience in that niche, or it doesn't make sense for the book.
Got it. No, that makes perfect sense. Thanks for the background there. So as we're kind of laying the plane here, any final thoughts on how someone, especially those that might not be a quote unquote morning person, can get started reaping the benefits that you teach? Yeah.
Honestly, I would watch the movie. So I would start with 2 free resources. Like I would encourage you to order the book. It's the best $20. I know I'm biased, but millions of people would agree. Go. There's 30,000 reviews on Amazon. Like it will change your life. Not just your morning routine. It'll shift your mindset. I mean, you're gonna see a detailed account of my car accident story, how I overcame that, what I learned from that, my cancer stories in the new edition of the book. So there's a lot there's a lot to the book. So I would encourage you to order the book on Amazon. You have nothing to lose. But while you're waiting for the book to arrive, take advantage of the 2 free resources. Watch the Miracle Morning movie and download the Miracle Morning app. And the Miracle Morning app, it's a free app to download. And then there's a premium version which has hundreds of guided Miracle Morning practices. And then there's a free version with the essential features. It's got a built-in journal, affirmations creator, and you do get 1 guided Miracle Morning savers track that you can play today. I think it's either 11 or 13 minutes, and it guides you through an entire Miracle Morning, all 6 savers in 13 minutes or less. And so the reason I share that is there's no easier way to do Miracle Morning. You literally wake up, 20 minutes earlier tomorrow, go brush your teeth and make your coffee or whatever, and then have that Miracle Morning app downloaded and click play. It's called the Savers 101 track. Click play, and 13 minutes later, you will go, wow, I just did a Miracle Morning, and I didn't have to put any thought into it. My hand was held. I was guided through it. So this isn't the 5 a.m. club. You don't have to wake up at a specific time. You just have to wake up, 15, 20, 30 minutes earlier than your normally scheduled time. And if you start with the Miracle Morning app and click play, it's done for you.
Well, thank you. I mean, Hal, we can't thank you enough for your time today, for the knowledge, the inspiration, the motivation that you shared with our entire audience. One more time, can you share the website that they should visit for more information?
Yes, thank you. MiracleMorning.com is the hub for everything. Now, you can go straight to Amazon if you want to buy the book.
Yeah.
But if you go to MiracleMorning.com, or the movie is free there. You can download the app in the App Store or the Google Play Store. But again, everything at MiracleMorning.com will redirect you there. So if you go to MiracleMorning.com on your phone and click, app, cool, great. Oh, I can watch the movie. Oh, I can go to Amazon, right? So that's the hub. MiracleMorning.com is the hub for everything.
Great. Thank you. Thank you again, Hal, and thank you all for tuning in. Please make it a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Holistic Wealth and Health Podcast. We hope we inspired you to make changes so you can live your best life. If you want to find out more about what we do, or if you want to have a holistic wealth and health financial plan, please call 456-833-7000. Please subscribe to the podcast and share it widely with your friends and family. Financial planning and advisory services are offered through Prosperity Capital Advisors, PCA, an SEC-registered investment advisor with its principal place of business in the state of Ohio. J.L. Smith Holistic Wealth Management and PCA are separate, non-affiliated entities. PCA does not provide tax or legal advice. Insurance and tax services offered through J.L. Smith Holistic Wealth Management are not affiliated with PCA. Information received from this podcast should not be viewed as individual investment advice. Product discussions and illustrations are hypothetical in nature and will vary based on many factors, including, but not limited to, age, health, product, insurance carrier, and product design. You should consult the insurance carrier website and policy for detailed information. For information pertaining to the registration status of PCA, please contact the firm or refer to the investment advisor public disclosure website, www.advisorinfo.sec.gov. For additional information about PCA, including fees and services, send for our disclosure statement as set forth on Form ADV from PCA using the contact information herein. Please read the disclosure statement carefully before you invest or send money.